Welcome to Hard Dose, where we always have your prescription for entertainment discussion. I'm Brian McBallz, joined with my partner in the practice, Jordan Wade.
Hey guys, how's it going?
This week we're talking Luther, Series 1 of BBC's Luther, and we're just going to hop right into spoiler territory. We've only seen Season 1. We're going to do this each episode in the next couple weeks. We're going to do a season of Luther. This week is Series 1, and so spoiler warnings. If you haven't seen Season 1, you want to back out. Let's hop right in. I guess first thing we want to talk about, let's talk about the character of Luther and Idris Elba in general. You want to start us off on this topic, Jordan?
Yeah, I would have to say obviously the main draw of this series would have to be Idris Elba and the character of Luther, and he's the most fleshed out character. He really, I mean, there are a bunch of side characters, but there's not really any other main characters. The show is called Luther, and it's very much just about John Luther, and Idris Elba does a great job. He is probably the absolute strongest point in the series, and Luther is always an interesting character from his personal standpoint as well as his professional standpoint. I think that you continue to watch each episode because you want to see how Luther's going to tackle the next crime or the next part of his life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Idris Elba, he's the heart of this show. Like it could not exist without him. And he's just so interesting to me. He's what keeps me entertained in this show. Just everything he does, the way how methodical he is on the job, and also overall, I think the overall story. Now, I'm just estimating here is that this is the story of how he breaks, or I have a feeling he will not last the series. I think he will die before the end, or something's going to happen to him because it seems like every episode he's sacrificing something. Like he usually gets the job done, but it's like at what cost? And I think it's amazing the way Idris Elba plays this out on screen. Even in the first episode, just like the little things about his performance. In the first episode, when he comes home to his wife, his estranged wife, and she tells him she's met another guy, and he just like the emotion in that scene, like the way he's sad, and then he's like. He's questioning it, and then he just gets angry and starts breaking the door. I'm like, I don't know, from the beginning I was hooked on his performance, and to me he really carries the show, and I think it's a testament to his acting abilities.
Yeah, and one person could say, oh, it's probably easy to play angry well. It actually is not easy to play angry well, and Idris Elba sells it really well because he's not constantly angry. Those fits of rage are executed perfectly, and he's a character battling his own personal issues and demons throughout the whole series, and you can tell that there's this constant storm churning underneath. It's almost like the Incredible Hulk, but in real life. I'm not saying he's not the same sort of devastation, but he's having to deal with sort of the same thing. He's having to balance so many things, juggle so many things at the same time, and you can read that in Elba's face, and you can read it in his performance, and he's just absolutely spectacular to watch.
Yep, and yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And so let's go ahead and talk about episodes. Let's talk about what's your favorite episode of Season 1, Jordan?
Well, my favorite episode is absolutely episode 4, and that's the one that deals with the supposed cab driver who kidnaps and kills women not for his wife, but out of frustration that his wife is sleeping around on him. And that was probably my favorite episode, just because there's a different villain in each episode, but I felt like his villain was the most realistic, just because his motives seemed really. I mean, each villain is realistic, each killer is realistic, but his just seems so raw, and you actually you didn't feel necessarily sympathy for him, but it was just that it was such a sad character, and I thought that whole episode, the way it was structured and the way it was executed, was the best one in the whole series.
Yeah, no, I thought that episode was really well done, and I do agree that there is, while he is a horrible person for doing that, you have a certain amount of pity for the guy because of his condition. He's got some kind of mental issues with his sexual fixations on women's like belongings or whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean it's an affliction that he's dealing with, and he's just, I don't know, he's become a killer. And yeah, that was a great episode. I would say my favorite, and maybe this is because this is the one I've watched most recently, I like I like the episode 6 thing. I like that there's Ian, the character Ian. He's kind of in the background since the episode 1. He's there helping Luther, and episode 5, he's dealing with criminals, and I like that he's he has a minor association with one of the criminals, and because of his actions, things escalate out of control, and people end up getting killed. And he's so afraid Luther's going to find out that he tries to confront the issue, and then it becomes a misunderstanding at a crime scene, and it just escalates from there. The guy's just like, okay, Luther knows he needs to be eliminated. And I don't know, I just find that the whole situation very unfortunate, because you could tell the guy didn't feel right about it, but then he just flips the switch and he's like, okay, this is self-preservation mode. I need to take Luther out. And I'm like, so it's cop versus cop. He's trying to frame Luther, and just Luther trying to get back and solve his issue, and Alice helps him out. I don't know, I just like the way it was set up. It's like season 1 all kind of culminated into this funnel where all the plot points made sense. They all came together. Alice had something to do. His wife's death, of course, that came about, and he actually kind of works together with his wife's mistress or mistress, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah. And that is interesting, because there's two people that sort of plague him throughout the whole first series: Mark, his wife's new boyfriend, and also Alice, and they all kind of end up coming together to work together to stop and kill Ian. Though I don't care for Ian as a character, I didn't feel like his build-up was strong enough for him to. Like, I feel like they could have built him up a little more, maybe save that for series 2, but obviously they probably didn't know if there was going to be a series 2. Kind of think of it as you're talking through that episode. I do like that there's that one line he says in the episode when he turns to Zoe and he says, "Do you ever have one of those days that you wish would that seems to never end?" I think is what he says, and you can empathize with him in that moment, because there are those days where it just seems like nothing can go right, and you're just watching him dig his hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and I mean that was pretty impressive on just that part.
And I was really just waiting to see what happens. So yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2 for sure. So let's talk about story structure overall, Jordan. I know you had some points you wanted to make about the show, some little quibbles you had.
Yeah, I didn't fall in love with the show probably as quickly as you did. It really wasn't until the 4th episode that I was completely sold on the series. You'll notice there were two things that I sort of thought of. First of all, this is a procedural, and the way we've been conditioned in America is like CSI, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, stuff like that. There's always a happy ending generally in those episodes of those shows. And in this, we don't get a happy ending. Pretty much every episode ends with, for the most part, Luther not getting. Every episode ends with Luther not getting the person, and at first it sort of bothered me, just because like, how can he mess up every episode? But then I sort of realized it's sort of an antithesis of what the sort of American or the original the general procedural goes. You don't get your happy ending every time in real life. So there's that, and there's also one thing that kept coming up to mind. Because of the score of the series, and also just a lot of themes that show up. This series came out after The Dark Knight, and it seems like this show takes a lot of influences from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Just because you kind of have this flawed hero character who, though he's trying to do good, he has to sacrifice. He has to make several sacrifices, and ends up being sort of framed as the bad guy in the end, much in the same way that Bruce Wayne gets framed, or Batman gets framed as a bad guy at the end of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up this procedural show in a way that there's a new villain each episode, for the most part, and I kind of had an issue with that, because in a way it kind of takes me, it detaches me from the realism of the situation, because I feel like every week he's dealing with some major, very what's the word, stylized serial killer. Like all these weird serial killers live in London. And I'm like, man, there can't be that many in this short period of time. And I mean, I know like maybe there's weeks or months between each episode sometimes. Sometimes I don't get that feeling though. Sometimes it feels like it's a fresh issue, because he's still battling with his wife, and trying to keep her. And I'm like, I know they're not dragging that out over years, so it has to be at most months.
Yeah.
You know, the course of season 1 has to be maybe 6 months. I don't think maybe a year max.
Yeah, it's not any longer than that. That's for sure.
So they come across 6 very, I don't know, I guess 5 or 6 very stylized serial killers in the period of a year, and it just seems a bit much.
Yeah, especially Lucian Burgess, who's pretty over the top with sort of the vampire thing and the blood and stuff like that. Like I was thinking, how could they not get this guy? Like it just seems like they could find something on him. But regardless, yes, I mean, very hyper stylized serial killers.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I do find it really enjoyable, and most of it's because of Idris Elba. I want to give the special shout out to Alice's character. I think she's very interesting, and her and Luther's relationship. I think it's very interesting dichotomy they have going on there.
Yeah, and the sexual tension's obviously there. There's it's gonna be interesting to see how that sort of evolves over the course of the series for sure.
Yeah, and so do you think we should move to Final Diagnosis?
Yeah, I say we go to Final Diagnosis. I'm ready.
All right. I guess I'll go first. I think Luther's a must-watch for me. I think it's very good. I'm not usually into crime, very serialized crime shows, especially the CSIs. I cannot stand CSIs. I've tried watching like Dangerous Minds?
Yes.
Or whatever. They're all
Criminal Minds, right?
Criminal Minds, whatever.
There we go.
The one with Mandy Patinkin or whatever. It's just too serialized for me, and I think that the series is short enough to where I won't get that jaded with it. Like, while it is semi-serialized, I know that it's going to be over in 8 more episodes, so it won't overstay its welcome in my mind. I think it's going to hit home really quick. I'm going to love Luther's character and Idris Elba's performances. So yeah, I say it's a must-watch. If you got Netflix, definitely check it out. And it's only, how many episodes? 10?
It's 14 total.
14 episodes total. So it's not a long watch by any means. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's a must-watch for everyone. I think I'm not into procedurals. I am sort of digging this show. I think if you're interested in seeing good Idris Elba work, it's definitely worth watching. But again, it's not a heavy time investment. That is sort of the blessing and a curse of BBC series. They are short for better or for worse, and so yeah, it's not. If you have a curiosity, you should definitely check it out.
And I guess want to put this out too is that it's not the best thing I've ever seen. I won't give this the same praise that I give True Detective or Breaking Bad. But I would say it is probably one of the better shows I've seen in the last like 5 years. It's pretty good. So I don't know. Final Diagnosis. I guess we both recommend it. I recommend it more so than Jordan, but.
Yes, it is a good show. If you have a curiosity, please check it out. It's worth watching at least a couple episodes.
And yeah, and we'll be watching season 2 and doing a review on season 2 also, and also season 3 after that. So if you want to check out what we have to think about the rest of the series, tune in again later. You can find our episodes. They'll be posted on altness.com, or you can follow us at altness on Twitter, and we will also tweet when the new episodes are available. Hopefully they will be released, I'm thinking, this month. I don't think it'll take us more than the rest of this month to get those watched and put up.
No.
So yeah. Other than that, you can follow me at McBallz on Twitter, and Jordan's at JJ Wade. And this has been another session of Hard Dose. We hope to see you at your next appointment.